In our next section, we're going to talk about VTP transparent mode and some of the benefits that this particular feature brings to your layer 2 network, and some of the aspects of it that can both benefit and, in some cases, hinder your network. It keeps a separate VTP database from the rest of the domain, so it does not originate VTP advertisements. However, it does transparently pass received advertisements through without installing them. It's needed for some applications like private VLANs, which we will talk about towards the end of this series. One nice thing about it does is VTP is susceptible to attacks or misconfiguration where VLANs are deleted. Basically, how that works, and it'd probably be easier if I just drew this out for you. So basically, what ends up happening is you get a situation where this guy here is a server and this guy is the client. Okay, alright, so it's this guy's the server, this guy's the client. So what ends up happening is, for some reason, you go into this switch and you go no VLAN 15, and what ends up happening is when you type in no VLAN 15, that is replicated through all the other switches in the domain. So then all of a sudden, VLAN 15 disappears from all of these devices, and any switch that had ports in VLAN 15, the port, if you looked at it physically, goes orange. What ends up ultimately happening is both the MAC address table and the spanning tree instance that was allowing that VLAN to forward and knowing how it could move throughout the network is now gone. So if there's no MAC address or spanning tree instance for that particular VLAN, then the switch itself doesn't have anything to put in it. It's a black hole VLAN. It's a black hole network. There's nowhere for anything to go. So by deleting a VLAN, you ultimately can ground your network pretty quickly. So access ports in the VLAN that does not exist cannot forward traffic. Now MD5 authentication prevents against attacks. So what it would do is it'll prevent a switch from joining a VTP domain that does not belong there. So if you don't know the password to the VTP domain, then you won't be able to do anything. But that does not prevent VTP from switch that's in the domain and authenticated from accidentally deleting the configuration. So it does not prevent against accidental misconfiguration. So what we're going to do is, I'm going to read you this little excerpt here, and I'm going to explain what the premise behind it. So after the layer 2 network appeared to be running smoothly, your team received numerous emergency support tickets as the network was completely down and unusable. After further investigation, you discovered that an employee in the warehouse took an extra switch out of the supply closet and plugged it into his office to add extra ports for his laptop he brought from home. Unfortunately, the switch had been pre-configured in the test lab and the correct VTP domain and password, but did not have the correct VLAN database and a higher VTP configuration revision number than the rest of the network. This meant that once connected, the switch overwrote the entire VTP domain and the wrong list of VLANs, and the network went down. Now, what that first bullet point basically points out is every VLAN administrator's nightmare. The VLAN database has been erased. Now, what you could do is, if you had the VLAN database and you knew what it was, you could simply just type it in on a device that was a server, or you could configure a device to be the server, and then make sure that it was in server mode, and then just reapply all the VLANs to that. If you've got 100 VLANs, yes, you're manually configuring it, but in most cases you've got a running config of that. For clients of mine, I usually keep a text document of all the VLANs that they have created and their names and the descriptions of each one, so I can quickly just copy and paste it in, up they come. But in cases where you don't want to even have to deal with that, VTP transparent mode takes care of that. After numerous debates on how to resolve this issue, the design team has decided to change all switches to VTP transparent mode. Although this will sacrifice the management flexibility, it will increase security and prevent a misconfigured switch from overriding the network again in the future. Now it says configure the network per the request to implement VTP transparent mode on all switches. So I'm on switch. I'm going to grab switch 1, and I'm going to start from there. It is a per hop behavior, so every device has to be configured with it. So I'm going to start on switch 1, and get that guy configured just so we can see how this all works. So let me pull up switch 1, pull my console cable up here, and so we're going to go VTP mode transparent. Now this is also going to set us up for private VLANs in the future, so I wouldn't worry about too much about this. Let's do this, and all that VTP pruning business that we did a few minutes ago is all gone. We're going to do VTP mode trans, switch 3, and we're going to add and do a telnet. Alright, so all devices are there in it. So we're going to do a show interface trunk. Now everything's being allowed again because we turned VTP pruning off effectively. It's still on, but transparent mode does not participate in it. So that is where we sit with that. So now everything is being forwarded. So, well, at least for the most part. So that is that. So we can't do anything more with that. The next topic we're going to talk about is spanning tree protocol in the upcoming video. I hope this has been informative for you, and I just thank you for viewing.